Yeah, a very productive way to end what has been a very challenging, hard-working and very positive pre-season. Cincinnati were an excellent test, and again, a local rivalry foe who we're going to run into a couple of times back in the Eastern Conference this year. I thought the first half we dominated some good periods and took advantage of some of those moments, and as you might suspect with the scoring, they were better than us for some periods in the second half and did likewise. There were also 2 or 3 instances in between. Fafa has a one-on-one with the goalkeeper. Teal has a fantastic opportunity from about 4 or 5 yards out with the goalkeeper to beat from a wonderful cross from Shaq that might have separated us, but in the end, the 90 minutes was shared, and I thought the guys that came on to see out some minutes and to extend their pre-season work were absolutely dominant in the way that they went about it, and took us into what was a very nice 6-3 victory to finish on a wonderful note.
Thank you, Coach. Tim, feel free to start us up and go on with your follow-up questions if you have them, and then we'll kick it off with you, Ben.
Yeah, Gary, we asked you after the first couple friendlies, how do you feel about the attack? How do you feel about the attack? How much confidence does it give you guys to see? I know 3 of them were in that extra period. How much confidence does it give you guys to see, the ball go in the back of the net 6 times as you get into the regular season here?
Well, if we just look at the fact, out of creation and quality of finishing, then there were some really nice moments, I have to say. And I know we can compartmentalise this into 90 minutes, and we really should do in terms of what we're going to see next week. Two of the goals that were scored, were off good set pieces for us, and Jacobs was a wonderful individual moment after some good build-up. What was as encouraging as the goals were the other moments that were created in what we could class as, our last dress rehearsal for the weekend. Fafa looked very bright. Teal got himself into some good positions. Jacob obviously got on the sheet. So there was a real edge to the game. It was played in extremely warm conditions down here. Lots and lots of positives to come out of our work with the ball, creatively and otherwise. There were 1 or 2 question marks that I'll be raising come Monday about how we managed those moments and some of the choices we made to allow Cincinnati to get back in the game. But all in all, I feel as though we've made some very positive strides each time we've played throughout this pre-season.
And as you look at defensively, since we don't see the games, what sort of goals were you conceding? Was there a theme to them? Is there something that kind of makes you worry ahead of the season opener, or is it something that's, hey, we just got to make sure we buckle down and do the work or whatever?
Yeah, honestly, I think a lot of it comes down to management and choices of moments. We're 3-0 up with maybe 10 minutes before the break, and Joe assures me he tried to clear the ball. It looked like he completely miskicked it. It ends up at the feet of one of the forwards. It may have been Vasquez at the edge of the box, and within 2-3 seconds it's rifled into the top corner. They're moments that once the season unfolds, you've got to expect and be assured that the guys are going to deal with that a hell of a lot better than to allow a team as talented and as stacked up front as this Cincinnati group is. You're giving them incentive. The second goal was poorly executed from our point of view. A long ball in behind the back line that, until I see the video back, there was a question of offside. But nevertheless, it's a very Route 1 ball that we should be dealing with, 9.9 times out of 10. And we have done. So a little bit of frustration there and disappointment that got the Cincinnati group back in the game, gave them the ability to get on the front foot. And their third goal, I'm sure they'll be very pleased about. There was some intricate play along the edge of the box, and Daniel dived in and uprooted someone inside the penalty area. So, there's still work to be done there. As I say, we'll focus in on the positives. The defensive side of things, I think we know full stop. We've always been very efficient with. I'm more encouraged about the way the team are evolving and are looking bright, purposeful and willing with regards to their attacking play.
And you mentioned a couple specific guys in terms of being bright in the attack. Fafa, Jacob, Teal. Those are two guys who weren't on your team. One of them joined halfway through the year last year, of course, and Teal was hurt for a lot of the year. How confident are you in having maybe more firepower than you had at this stage last year going into the regular season?
Well, I do honestly believe the addition of Fafa has been not only dynamically to the team, but in terms of competition. We have some very effective wide players now in our group and a lot of pace. So that can only be good for the group, and it helps stretch the game out and offer more pockets for the likes of Hanny and Randall and some of the forwards to try and work into. Randall got a good hour out of the game today. He played a withdrawn attacking role and looked very bright, involved in some very good attacking and creative play. So that's another real positive for the group as we head towards next weekend. And you're right, both Teal and Jacob have obviously been part of the group from last year. Jacob's only going to get better. His relationship with Daniel is growing in that left-sided relationship. And as you said, Teal has spent some good portions of last year out of the group. It'd be lovely to see him stay fit and get a run of games. I'm sure that he'll be delighted to see the field more often than he did last year, and that can only again be good for competition.
And then last one for me, it didn't look like, based on the updates, that Hani played at all. You're still confident that you're going to have him available for NYCFC?
Well, yeah, of course. I want to stay confident. He's still feeling sore. He's making progress, but we still have a week left of our preparations. And, of course, you make no mistake, if we can get him in that starting 11 or even in the group, we're definitely going to do so. We know what effect he can have, so we'll do everything to get him there. And of course CJ and Dax, they're not a million miles away either. Now all three of those guys are very much in the race to be ready for next weekend.
Thank you, Tim. Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, Gary, we've obviously seen a lot of Teal. Well, we haven't seen, but Teal has played a lot in preseason. It seems like CJ's off-ball work and his hold-up play has been a huge part of your identity over the last couple of years. How do you feel that in more of a full season, Teal will be able to fill that out? And do you feel like he's a similar type of player, or do you feel like he offers something a little bit different from CJ?
Well, I think if you ask the guys, the individuals that you're talking about, they'll both say that they have different qualities to each other. But when you look at what they represent for the team, they're very, very similar. They're both experienced. They're both very capable in running in behind defences. They're good physically. They're great, what we would class as stereotypical nines, to play off of, to link off of. And of course, whenever there's delivery or work into the penalty area, you would expect those two guys to be a real focal point. Teal had a wonderful chance today from such an instance. So, I mean, look, if we can get to a point where both of these guys are fighting for positions in that front line, if we can get ourselves to a point where Randall, Jacob, Fafa, we've got Luke, who's been absolutely fantastic pre-season. Alex has scored 2 goals in his final 30 minutes in a very different role, but he looks really bright, and he's got the he looks like he's got the bit between his teeth, and he's really challenging to want to be part of that group. The competition daily is the key to keeping the group in a very competitive position. So I do think we've added very nicely health, confidence, of course, and making sure that the balance of the group is always in the right place. But we've got some very nice pieces in that attacking world, and getting them in the right spot health-wise towards the start of this season is now my main focus.
A follow-up here. You talked about how Randall kind of played in more of a withdrawn role. I'm assuming that was kind of in place of what we usually see from Honey. But with the additional depth out wide, do you feel like there's a place for him potentially to feature more centrally this year, either in place of Honey or even with Honey on the field? How are you hoping to?
Absolutely, for certainty, Ben. He's played centrally for his country. If you think about some of the qualities that a central midfield player, a creative central midfield player would possess, you're really talking about Randall. He's got a really competitive streak. He's got great energy. He loves the ball in tight areas. I think one or two things that he does possess that we don't always see in a match day for us is that he's capable of driving with the ball, breaking lines, and certainly being more productive in that manner. So I would never write it off. It really adds into the world that we're trying to create here, which is not only a more effective, not only a more forceful, creatively looking group, but competition. Do we need to change a piece of the puzzle for different opponents? Can we have two more attack-minded players in that midfield area, or even a group that with those two really pacey wide players? What does that look like for the rest of the team, and what sort of openings does that create?
And last one for me, kind of wrapping up preseason here. We talked a lot about secondary scoring last year and getting goals from elsewhere besides Honey, and you've talked a little bit about this, but with the season a week away, do you feel confident that either the new additions that you've brought in or the guys who are here are in a place that they can kind of step up what we saw last year and not have Honey carrying, 65% of the weight?
Yeah, I'd really like to think so. You can never be assured of anything, of course, but someone like Fafa was added to the group for a couple of different reasons. One was he's versatile enough to play on both flanks. Two, he adds a commodity to the modern game which can be devastating, which is pace. And three, if you look at his record, he actually chips in with a nice portion of goals and has done throughout his career from those wide areas. So, yes, I do think we're in a better place. It will certainly come down to competition, me picking the right group at the right time, but the competition in itself will, I think, spur these guys on to what will hopefully be a better season than any we've had before.